Russell Brand. Russell Brand is a complete fucking fraud. Everything Russell Brand does is bullshit. Let's start with a list, shall we? The P. Diddy Chronicles. He and P. Diddy's famous film trip to Las Vegas before he was a Christian, but post his drug addictions, post him being a recovering drug addict. Okay? Whose eyes are always glossy. Anyway, he went to Vegas with Puff Daddy. Of course, there's the famous egg thing where shoving eggs up people's asses and vaginas and things like that. And Puff Daddy, of course, we'll know now from testimony and some testimony, I guess it's on the record, but some other stuff that Puff Daddy is bisexual. That he had sex with a lot of young men. One of the young men that people think he had sex with was Justin Bieber. And others. I mean, it's an ugly tale of what Puff Daddy did. Forget all the women and girls that he took, fly all over the country, young underage girls, and get a bunch of baby oil and then basically have sex with children, sex with minors, which he's being charged with right now. And he's in jail waiting his trial. Russell Brand is bullshit Christian. First of all Christians are bullshit. It's a made-up story, 2,500 years old, used by empires to control you and used by very, very rich and powerful people to manipulate and to basically own society. And it's used by every empire. Every Western empire are usually Christian, from the British Empire to, America, extremely Christian nation. And he, of course, has no career anymore. He has no film career. He has no film career, and his stand-up career is limited at best because he doesn't talk about the things that he used to talk about. He's not the same goth, effeminate, British stand-up comedian talking about sex and drugs and partying and rock and roll. Now he's talking about the deep state. Mostly he's talking to Americans. Let's be perfectly honest. Russell Brand is mostly speaking to Americans and he was recently charged, of course, with sexual assault. And he is awaiting trial and all those, and his career is circling the drain. Only it's not, because the right wing doesn't really care. The right wing Christian male thinks women should be dominated anyway. They think women should be told what to do. They think women should be subservient. And Russell Brand fits right into their he sexually assaulted some girls when he was younger. But he's a Christian. He asked for forgiveness, so it's all good. It's funny to me is that he really got famous he was famous before, but online, he really got a lot of people with his COVID bullshit. And COVID is one of those magical events that happened that simultaneously made a bunch of careers, that people that already had careers, it made them more successful. I believe that Jimmy Dore is one of those people. I believe that Russell Brand is one of those people. I believe that there are other people like, all the Joe Rogan bullshit, those people. And did CNN manipulate footage of Joe Rogan? Yes, he did. They did when he got COVID. Did they make fun of ivermectin? Yes, they did. Do you think that they were taking advice from big pharma and those? Certainly, that's an aspect of it. But to pretend like the spending on COVID, the billions of dollars, all of the stuff that happened with COVID was somehow some deep state project. What was the end goal? I saw the end goal, and it was just what Russell Brand is doing, and it's capitalism. Never forget that Russell Brand charged people up to like $7,000 to stand near him while he stretched. Never forget that he exploited his audience for every dollar that they have. Never trust a stand-up comedian. I've said this in hundreds of videos on my other channels and everything else. And here, stand-up comedians are the worst kind of little wretched motherfuckers. They are people who were willing to take. I dabbled, and I hated it. I hated standing in a room full of drunk assholes at 2:00 in the morning doing an open mic. I didn't want to be famous. I met subscribers of my old channel, and I didn't like it. So I was like, man, if you pursue this, you have to really be insecure, or you really have to be fucked up to pursue. Your ego has to be insane. And it's the quickest way you can get into show business without having to be good looking or be an actor or doing those things. And so you can go into stand-up comedy. Most stand-ups, the majority of stand-ups, I would say, that become successful They end up becoming writers, and they become or they become actors. They don't really stay stand-ups forever. They do both. But anyway, so, but he has mistaken his youthful desires. Everybody from the time they are 13 years old to the time they're in their 40s is sexually driven. It's biological. If you are not sexually driven in those ages, then you're probably asexual, which is actually a clinical term. But most people, Russell Brand says this to himself. Doesn't matter if when he was talking about Puff Daddy, the best in his little video in the private jet, he said that most people, gay, straight, whatever, the best thing at the end of the day is it ends in sex. That's a youthful fucking opinion that I completely agree with up until, say, 44, 45 years old. And your sexuality begins to fade, especially if you've been sexually active with a mate, or you've been sexually active a lot for whatever reason. You went out a lot, it doesn't matter. And it slows down because it's biological. So all of these guilt-ridden Christians now who get to like 44 years old, and Russell Brand's part of it. He's also grifting his right-wing audience. But I know a lot of these people who are like, oh, I was so hedonistic, and all I cared about was getting fucked up and having sex. Oh, and I had sex, and I had group sex, and I had all this. And now in their 40s, their sexuality is not predominant anymore because biology doesn't want you to reproduce after 40 or into your 40s. And now you can argue with this with me all the fuck you want. You can still I'm not talking about erections or masturbation or orgasms. I'm talking about the desire to have sex. That overwhelming desire that you had in your 20s and 30s. I remember the feeling. I remember the overwhelming desire. I have got to get laid. I've got to put on my big dick jeans, and I've got to put on a nice shirt and some cologne and go to a club or a bar, and I got to find something to have sex with. I got to find a girl that would be gracious enough to have sex with me. I mean, we all have experienced that. It's why pornography is so popular, particularly in a certain group margin. So Russell Brand, of course, felt guilty about his sexual activities when he was younger, probably a lot of homosexual activities, a lot of group sex, forcing himself on people, having sex with complete strangers, nobody saying the word no to him. Reminds me of Aziz Ansari when you read the girl that was taken to his apartment, and it was like the ugliest sort of like terrifying. Another stand-up comedian. They're just awful people. And so, they just generally are. They just are. But so he mistakes his sexual desires, like I said, as a youth, and for guilt. And he has guilt over them. So he needed some forgiveness because he doesn't have those same sexual desires anymore. He doesn't have the overwhelming need because he's over 40 and has children and a wife. And he has had a lot of sex. So it's not like he's driven by those same things because he's older. And Christians are so emotionally detached from themselves sometimes that they're emotionally immature and they're intellectually incurious about themselves that Russell Brand, he's just one more Christian who doesn't understand that. You're following a natural flow, and now you're asking for forgiveness for something that everybody feels, and there's no reason to ask forgiveness. You're supposed to procreate during those years. You're supposed to have children. You're not supposed to have children biologically after the age of 40 or in your mid-40s. Women have a more difficult time. Men have a higher rate of children born with autism, and if they're over 40 when they get a woman pregnant, of autism, of Down syndrome, of other things that are genetics, and just other problems. It's nature's way of telling us, don't have a kid at 40 because you'll be 70, you'll be, 60 when they're 20. And you'll be, don't have a kid that old. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to have them earlier. You're supposed to be youthful so you have energy to take care of them. And you blah, blah, all those things. So even in a technologically advanced evolutionary society like ours, biology still plays a big part of it. We're all going to die. We all age roughly the same way, and we're all going to die. Though, of course, there are physical freaks and people who are 80 years old and still running, or 90 years old and still active. Those are rare. Those are exceptions to the rule. Those are not the rule. So anyway, also, this is just an aside. MTV has produced a lot of fucking horrible people and untalented and shitty. Russell Brand in the UK, you know him because he was on, that MTV, they made Russell Brand. Canada, you know that Dan Levy fuck? Eugene Levy's, who I like Eugene Levy, loved SCTV. But Eugene Levy's untalented, weird son, Dan Levy, who has never said one funny thing that I have ever seen. Why do people like Schitt's Creek? I don't understand that. I don't understand Schitt's Creek. I can't believe that anybody would watch the first episode of that show and continue on. There is nothing appealing about it. Nothing. And Dan Levy is gotta be the most annoying, unfunny Nepo shithead. And everybody, it's like, if we have a comedy, we have to have Dan Levy. Why? He's not talented. And that Schitt's Creek, if that was actually on any real network that had to compete against other shows and not on Netflix or whatever streaming service it is in Canada, it wouldn't that shit's not going to be popular. It's terrible. Chris Elliott's bad in it. Eugene Levy's okay in it. Catherine O'Hara, she's fine in it. The girl, I don't even know her fucking name. She's terrible in it. The girl that he's supposed to be, he's gay. He's a homosexual. He's not just effeminate. He is flamingly gay. And they were trying to flirting with him and this girl. And it's like, what year is it? What are we doing? Rock Hudson, the Doris Day shit. What the fuck is happening? Clearly this man's gay. He might as well fucking wear a fucking pride flag. Anyway, on his shirt. Anyway, which is nothing great. Awesome. But damn, that show was bad. Oh, I couldn't get through the first episode. I love comedy. Love it. I like Eugene Levy and Catherine Hart. Like them. But my God, that show was terrible. Anyway, so, Russell Brand, again, is, going back to the MTV. And then America produced Pauly Shore. The Weasel Body where we's juicing with the wheeze. It's the most, and if you've seen what Pauly Shore has done since, it's comical. Pauly Shore is a hack. And he has to constantly remind you that he knew Sam Kinison. He used to constantly remind, after Sam Kinison died, he had this thing where he had Sam Kinison's brother play Sam Kinison in this weird movie that Pauly Shore made, this independent movie, and it's like visiting him in it, because Pauly Shore because people thought that Sam Kinison was a good comedian. I liked Sam Kinison. I didn't think he was great. I thought he was a one-trick pony that would have just eventually gone into acting and then, whatever. And I'm not saying he wasn't talented, but a little bit of an overrated comedian. But that's what happens with comedians or musicians or artists, period, when they die young. They become icons. They become, this person, they died because you didn't get to see them suck. You didn't get to see their one-trick pony asses. It's like Andrew Dice Clay. If Andrew Dice Clay had died in the early 90s, Andrew Dice Clay would be considered one of the better stand-up comics or one of the more important stand-up comics because of his censorship battles, because of him selling out Madison's, so hard to sell out Madison Square Garden, apparently. Everybody does it now. But, he was doing all these things, and and if you see him now, he's the most insecure little weird dude. I always thought he was Italian. He's Jewish. He's a Jew-gene. What do they call them? Jew-genes. But anyway, he's weird. And America has, MTV just keeps producing these little shit fucks all over the planet who suck. Not so much, I guess they do now because it's Rob Dyrdek and him doing Tosh Point oh, or him doing whatever the fuck clip show that he does. Because you can't go on YouTube and watch this shit. You somehow who is watching MTV? Who the fuck is turning into, what is it called? I don't even know what that show's called. But it's hosted by a 4'3" tall ex-pro skater who fucking, I don't care what I say his height, I don't give a shit about how tall he is, but some little goon, little goofy fuck who's a better businessman than he is talented. And he's basically taken over MTV because then no one's watching MTV. Because MTV became a victim of the internet like everybody else. They became a victim of videos on demand, so to speak. So anyway, Russell Brand's a fraud. He's a liar. And the sooner that he goes away and the sooner he goes to jail and the sooner that he is out of all of our consciousness, the better. But of course, what's going to happen is even if he gets convicted, he will be a martyr. He'll become more popular with MAGA and the right wing, and then he'll be more of a hero because they all think, what do you have to do? Bill O'Reilly, what do you have to do? Like Bill O'Reilly shit, falafel, loofah. What do you have to do to get the right wing to hate you? Nothing, apparently. Thank you for listening.